So today we're going to take a look at the final of the Valorant Freeze-Out tournament hosted by Knights here, and it was a very good game between SR and TSM, and we're going to take a look at the last map of Breeze, but I'm just going to quickly ask you guys a question. I want you to take a look at the two team comps that we have here. So for SR, we have Viper, Cypher, Harbor, KO, and Sky versus TSM's Sova, Jet, Omen, Phoenix, and Killjoy. And I just want you to have a little think about I mean, some of you might know the result, but if you don't know the result, who do you think won this game based off the team comps? Because this is what is so interesting about this tournament, I think, in a way, is that I feel like some maps in particular can pretty much be decided at this stage of the game, right? Unless you get a really heroic performance. But in my mind, when I looked at these two team comps, I thought SR have, like, there's no way that they lose this game, right? I mean, their team comp is so much better than TSM's that I just don't see a way out, right? And I think, you know, SR, I'm going to guess that this is the way that it went, right? The SR picked Viper first, as you always would on Breeze, and then TSM picked Sova and Jet, right? Who are two very good agents on Breeze, and I can understand why they would pick them. But by picking these, SR then do the right thing when they get their two picks next, and they go with Cypher, the best Sentinel on this map now, in my opinion, by quite a way, and then also Harbor as well. So now you really severely limit what TSM can do, right? Because they're going to have Sentinel problems because, you know, everyone else now is range restricted, and on a map as big as Breeze, that's a massive problem. And now they don't have a Harbor or a Viper, so they don't have any proper controller that can actually, you know, fully smoke this map off. And so they're in a big problem. So TSM have to go with Omen. That was their choice. I actually think Astra probably would have been a little bit better, to be honest, you know, just because you get the ult every so often, and that kind of is, you know, just a big Viper wall for you. And then they go Phoenix. Now, I don't know why they went Phoenix, but that gave the SL the chance to go KO Sky as well. And so they ended up, I think, with a very balanced, obviously they are lacking a duelist, but, you know, they ended up with 4 very good agents on this map. Some you might say are essential on this map, and they also ended up with another pick which severely restricted their opponents as well. So a very good draft for SR. And this is what's so interesting about this tournament, is that, in my opinion, this game was, you know, it was so heavily favored for SR just based off the team comps. And so let's start with round number 2. And let's start with some theory first, though, about TSM's comp and how they were going to go about attacking this map. Because obviously, they only have Omen to smoke, right? And that causes you some problems. You really can't, and they didn't really try that much either, to just kind of, you know, force it A as a big 5-stack, which is quite a common tactic on Breeze, even in the pro level, you know, to just group up and go A. You know, that's quite common, something you see quite a lot. But with just an Omen, it's like, where do you smoke, right? Like, maybe you can put one, like, in here and maybe in there, but then, you know, you're still completely vulnerable to this angle, you know, potentially on top of the stairs as well. They could still see you, you know, there's still a lot potentially that you could be seen by in different angles and stuff. And so it does still make it pretty tricky, right? And so they never really did just try and force it down A, which obviously a bit of a problem for their comp. And then they had other problems as well, right? With the Killjoy stuff as well. You're going to see in some of these rounds that they get flanked, and they did get flanked quite often because of the range restriction on Killjoy. You know, they were having to put alarm bots down if they went B like here or something, right? And the turret would be like here, and the Killjoy would be sitting there. But, you know, that doesn't stop someone from flanking around here and coming in the window and killing you on B, right? Like, that happened to them quite often as well, where flanks were a big deal for them. And so their comp really, I think, caused them quite a few problems and just created, yeah, kind of chaos for them. What we're going to see, though, is this is the second round. They actually only have pistols, classics in this round. They're going to smoke off this side of mid. They're going to put a Sova dart up there, as you can see just as well. And, well, often on these kind of second rounds or big kind of save rounds, what I often think is kind of maybe a problem, or when it starts to go wrong for a team with guns, is that they play a bit too passive. They give them a bit too much respect with just a classics, right? Because you're going to see here that our Viper and Cypher are playing pretty deep on B, right? And our Sky as well is, you know, now a bit scared of Nest. And at no point, you know, have they actually really, you know, tried to fight this at any real point or stage. And a big problem as well is our Sky here has a Stinger, right? And I know that the Stinger is very good and whatnot, but in this position in Nest, I do wonder whether, you know, you would be better off, you know, with something else, not a Stinger, because of course with a Stinger I can kind of understand why this Sky, you know, felt a bit awkward maybe peeking around this corner, right? You're going to see it here that Dazzle will swing there, but doesn't want to go too far. And actually, they let them get very, very deep. And this guy ends up in a very bad position where a flash is going to come around the corner, and they do find that kill. So we end up in a 4v4 as Vic has managed to find 7 there just as they were trying to cross. But actually, somehow Corey's going to win this fight against this KO with just a classic. And so we end up in a 4v3. Now, Nature's picked up the gun here. Moose is, going to try and find a kill, but all of a sudden we're in a 3v4, and Moose is going to get kind of, it's kind of interesting. They kind of maybe get a bit baited because a tripwire goes off just at that moment as well, and so they get that kill. But B-Dog has thankfully managed to do a very nice job in holding down A, as these players were trying to come in here, managed to get 2 nice kills, and so we're in a 2v2, and really at this point it could go either way. You see Vic is on his bike there going all the way across the map, and they're going to play this 2v2 pretty well, I will say. SR very low is B-Dog here, you can see on the harbor, so he just comes and plays like a bit more passive and whatnot, and they aren't expecting Vic to be, completely on the other side of the map, as you can see, and Vic has got there pretty quick. So what's going to happen is he does find a very good timing on Corey there, to be fair, but they're going to play this 2v1 pretty much perfectly, I would say, SR here, because what's going to happen is, obviously Nature now knows where Vic is, right? He knows that Vic is in here. They still have plenty of time, right? The spike isn't down or anything like that. So Nature's going to look around. But watch what Vic does, because he's just going to slowly come back and slowly come and group up with B-Dog, right? Make it a 2v1, right? Don't give him 2 1v1 fights. He's still going to be looking this way, because that was the last, sighting there. And now B-Dog as well. You can see Nature... B-Dog has been given a lot of time to potentially move around as well, right? So now he has no idea where anyone is, okay? Because they wait. And this is something I think a lot of people, you do get impatient in these situations. You try and find that kill as quick as you can, when really there is no need. They put up a nice little harbor wall there as well, just to get on the spike and kind of, create some confusion. Vic's eventually going to find the kill, and they play the 2v1 really, really well, right? They group together. They make sure there's, confusion there, that they could have come to other positions as well. They make Nature basically, have no information of what's going on. They stick together. They play together. They win the round. And now let's come to round number 6, and the situation is this. It's 3-2 to SR. They've gone for a Viper's Pit down here on B. We've got the Cypher set up towards A, as you can see just there. Again, we've got these smokes in mid from TSM. They at least, try to threaten this mid presence quite often. But actually what they're going to do this time is they're going to go for the Killjoy lockdown. And we're going to see some of the changes that came in here, to that Viper's Pit come into effect. But what you see here is we get this nice little Cypher setup, actually, with the camera here. And Moose is just going to come and tuck himself in here towards kind of, the little edge of hole before the drop, and then just use his camera and potentially swing out. This was a nice little setup, worth mentioning if you can get it down. It's quite a nice little one to have. But eventually what's going to happen here is TSM, as you can see, are going to group up, and they're going to come towards B, and they're going to come and put the Killjoy lockdown just where they've pinged there towards the elbow. Really interesting idea, and this is the big kind of change to the Viper's Pit now, is that, if you can do something like this and flush the Viper out, that pit is now gone. But what is happening is we're going to get a bit of a Leviathan moment here, where Hayes, I think here, has gone for TSM and TP'd on top of the tower as well with his Omen ult with the spike. And he's going to stick it. And he's going to stick it, as you can see just here. But Vic, who's here, is like, oh, that's an interesting smoke. Omen just ulted. I wonder why, right? And starts putting the pieces together, sprams into there, gets the kill, the spike goes down deep into the site. But the Viper's Pit will fall with this Killjoy lockdown, right? So, TSM got on a bit of a, retrieval mission for the spike, but Vic's about to just go crazy because his movement here is really, really good, finding those different kills. And actually, eventually, he's just going to run out of bullets there, stopping him getting the kill on GMD. But we end up in this position, and it's going to be pretty simple from SR from here on out, because they get the kill on Corey. And then again, we see the problems that they had, that SR were very willing to come on the flank. This happened quite a few times, where people would come into A main or towards B main here, and so we're going to get a free kill for this Cypher to end it there for SR, and they would win that round. And I think, we did see, some of those problems, because SR felt free to flank, because they're only up against a Killjoy, and even though the Killjoy is dead in that round, right, but they felt free that was a good plan to go for anyway, because of that range restriction on the Killjoy was causing TSM, I think, some problems. But now let's swap sides and have SR on the attack with this Viper Harbor combo, and I do think they found some success. One big difference between the two attacking sides is that, SR were much more willing to come to this A site with the Viper wall just, constantly being put across there. They sent out this Harbor Cascade early on as well, just to block off the vision just there, but then they're actually going to come, as you can see, down towards halls. And what's going to happen is, again, this is a good idea, I think, you're attacking kind of that Killjoy weakness again, where maybe the Killjoy, unless they're fully stationed in mid, right, isn't going to have anything necessarily here, or the Killjoy is going to have to stick around in here. And so they attack down in halls. They put a Cypher Cage there up, as you can see. Actually send a Harbor Cascade just there as well to block it off for even longer. And they start to come out of A main as well with the Viper wall up. They have this halls control. They're ready to come and do a little A split here. But what we're going to see in just a second as well is we're going to get a second Harbor wall. And this was something that they kind of consistently did that I just thought was really interesting, where you see we get the second Harbor wall there and this Viper wall. And this is something that they were doing in kind of different forms, right? Sometimes it'd be a cross like that, and just kind of creating different zones of the site and just creating confusion with this Harbor Viper where, maybe they're on this side of it, maybe they're coming in this way, maybe they're coming behind, both the walls, right? And just like defenders in here in these areas, when they were sectioned off in different areas, it would create, difficult situations for these defenders, I think, to be even more separated from their teammates, perhaps. Hayes is actually going to do really, really well here. Manages to find the first 2 kills, and it looks pretty good. We then get an interesting cove just to allow B-Dog to potentially exit just here with the cove, as you can see, as Hayes starts to spam it, and that actually maybe alerts B-Dog of where Hayes is, and they get that kill as well. Corey has managed to find Vic as well, though, just by the Viper wall just in here. So we actually end up in a 2v4. But again, we're going to see a really nice little kill here from B-Dog. He actually uses his own wall to kind of escape a bit. They get the kill on GMD there from Dazzled. He now has his ult, so they get that ult off, and that, kind of tells them where these players are. They know that someone is close on their right just there. Dazzled finds that one. They then find Nature, who has to move, right? We end up in a 2v2. The spike goes down. The Sky ult comes out as well. B-Dog tries to swing off the back of that, right? Tries to get the swing off with the Sky ult. Well played by Seven to destroy both the Sky ult and then get the kill. And then what we're going to get here is a little ring around the rosy. I'll show it to you on the map. As the Sky here is just going to, kind of go around as the kill just comes around. It does well, right? Just playing the time, just making sure there isn't enough time. And even though Seven will get the kill, ultimately the spike goes boom. But then finally, let's finish with round number 22, the final round, where this game just kept getting crazier and crazier and crazier. We've got an early Harbor wall down there. The dart sees B-Dog, and that shot is just about missed. He then puts up this little wall as well, just to create some confusion. Nature then misses a second shot, and we end up in this position. Now, this Harbor is creating a bit of chaos, right? And they're trying to deal with this Harbor because they know that, there is someone there. But whilst that's going on, actually, they've managed to plant the spike and just come out on A and actually get the spike down. So we're in a bit of a weird round. It's actually a save for SR as well. You might have seen a stinger in the hands of B-Dog just there. So they don't have great weapons. Hayes decides, we do a little bit of trolling. He's trying to flex on them with that paranoia kill just there, but Nature actually finds Vic in that moment. Then the Sky ult comes out. Then we get a Killjoy lockdown coming out as well. So you got Killjoy lockdown. The Sky Seekers are going across as well. You got quite a few players kind of a bit out of the action, let's say, for SR at this moment. So Dazzle's kind of here alone on the site, and I don't know whether he's trying to go for a kill here or trying to, destroy the Killjoy lockdown, but Seven manages to find him. And now we're in a very weird spot, right? B-Dog manages to get one. Matter actually trades it back. We're in a 2v2, but the Killjoy lockdown's still going off. So you think, well, this is just over, right? There's just no way. But then Matter throws this nade, right? Coming from way downtown, Kobe's it across the map. And you're going to see it's perfectly placed and actually manages to get the kill on GMD just before he's able to get the spike off. They manage to just get down. Corey still gets one, but then Moose is able to win the game in just a crazy, crazy game. And even Moose, like if we come back, you'll see that Moose actually had to come and take the little escape hatch down here from in halls just to avoid the Killjoy lockdown just before it went off as well. So crazy, crazy ending to a pretty fun game overall. This format as a whole, I think, very interesting. I don't think we'll see this format really anytime soon. I mean, you'd be talking a long, long way. We'd have to have a lot of agents in the game before this kind of format, I think, became a thing. But it is quite interesting. Tactically, I think it's very interesting as well. And I think we saw teams kind of understand the importance maybe of, limiting your opponent's options by picking, something like Viper Harbor on Breeze. That something like that, by restricting your opponent as well, gives you a pretty big advantage. So a very interesting game overall, and SR ultimately came out as your champions.